Better call Zaal.
Welcome back to another Better Call Zaal YapZ. I'm here with Jordan, JK Charters. How you doing today, Jordan?
I'm doing outstanding, man. Just been grinding, kind of grinding in the shadows a little bit. Not telling too much about what's coming, but we're kind of ramping that up now. And so, but what a time, right? What a time to be alive with everything that's happening with agentic commerce and all the tools at our disposal. I mean, if you're an ideas guy, if you're someone that has always wanted to build certain things, like you can actually do it now, and it doesn't cost like an arm and a leg, right? And you don't have to pay huge dev teams and all these different things. So it's exciting, super exciting.
Yeah, I think the challenge is gone from like actually execution to like after execution. What happens now when you have something? What do you do with it? And like, how do you, like, now that you can test and iterate on so many different things and you can try things out, what do you do after you found something that's good and has like some sort of fit after that, right? And isn't just slop. So it's amazing to have you on. I'd love for you to go into a little bit of a intro about yourself, like share with everyone who is JK Charters.
Oh man, let's see. Well, where do I really start? I mean, I guess I can start with what most people might be interested in is how did I get into this industry, right? How did I get into crypto and all of that? So just kind of break that down. So it was in 2017 that one of my friends was had his own like crypto exchange, his own BTC exchange in Korea, and so that kind of like got me thinking about about crypto. But before that even was in 2010. So in 2010, I was running 4 sports massage clinics in the Portland, Oregon area.
Oh,
and I had a friend that was mining Bitcoin, and he was like, bro, this is the future, and you need to take payments for massage services at your clinics with Bitcoin. And I almost did it. But the thing is, the way that the rails for getting on chain and all that, like it wasn't super smooth back then, right?
100%, yeah.
And so I looked into it and I was like, I don't know. Maybe we can do that in the future. And I didn't even read the white paper like an idiot, because no, seriously, if I would have read that white paper, bro,
but how do you know to read the white paper at that point, right?
He told me to read it. He's like, dude,
okay.
read it. And I even thought to myself too, I was like, okay, digital money. I don't know. Like, I've been a gamer all my life and I love gaming, and I understand like, digital economies and, digital currencies and things. But like, what happens if, you get an EMP attack, right? What happens if, this or that? So, I was kind of like gaming out scenarios of why Bitcoin wouldn't work, and not thinking about why it would work. And so it wasn't until later that, I really started looking at it. And then like in 2017, a little bit here and there, didn't really dip into it much. And then it was in 2019 that I was talking with, I was in Ukraine at the time. So I was one of the rehabilitation advisors for the Ukrainian military. And they have a big tech sector there, lots of guys that love crypto. And so I was talking with them about it, and they're like, dude, like, you got to get into crypto. You got to get into looking at this stuff. I was already thinking of a product, because I've always been an entrepreneur. And so I was thinking of this way that we can like fund nonprofits by using like crowdsourced digital assets for video games. And when we were looking at ownership in games, the blockchain kept coming up over and over and over and over again. And so I started working with the Wax blockchain. I started working with, other infrastructures. So that was in 2019. And then in 2020, I actually got some Dogecoin, like very little amount, not very much. And and I should have actually like mined it, but I didn't. And yeah, that like $100 and something worth of Dogecoin, I mean, it turned into thousands and thousands of dollars later, when Doge started going. And that's when it really piqued my interest. That's when I was like, okay, like maybe I need to get into
some
this
money
more
now.
deep.
Now I need to
Yeah,
deeper into
yeah,
it, right?
yeah. And so where I really cut my teeth in this industry at first was on wax, and I made good money just flipping NFTs. I was flipping gaming NFTs on Alien Worlds. Do you know what Alien Worlds is?
Heard of it. No.
So it's just a mining game. It's a game where you get different NFTs, you get mining equipment, you mine every so often. You can mine. So it depends on your rig. Like you could be mining every 5 minutes, could be mining every 10 minutes. You actually have to click it, right? You actually have to click it. So there were times where when I was doing that, I mean, it was kind of crazy because I had like timers set up. So I would wake up at like 1 or 2 in the morning just to click it. Yeah, just to click the button so that I could see if I was going to mine, a new item and sometimes that one click was worth like 30 or 40 bucks or 50 bucks, so I was like, hey, that
it's worth waking up in the middle of the night.
It's worth it for me. It's worth it for me. Yeah. And then that was kind of like the beginning of like 2021, and then going into like early 2021, I found DeFi, started getting into DeFi within like BSC, and then I did some other things, and then my biggest chance or thing that just kind of put me into the industry like full on was I got to be one of the co-founders of PolyDoge, most successful meme coin on Polygon natively, right? And so we took that to 260,000 holders in 2021 with 120 million market cap on all the major exchanges, and that's where I got to learn how great this industry is and how I got to see both sides of it, right? I got to see all the great things and all the bad things, all combined in one. It was quite the schoolhouse for me. And then that just kind of led to more opportunities, looking at, what's working, what's not. And then, I really just, like, I keep going back to looking at the problems in our industry and like, how can we make it so that there's more win-win situations, right? How can we make it so that more people are like, what has happened since 2024 to now is just so tragic to me. The huddle, culture being gone. I don't know if you saw the stats of that X post that someone did the other day on Solana, talking about how 2 years ago, the average time that you would hold, the average time that was being held for a coin on Solana was like a day and a half or something like that, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the average time is right now?
Within the minutes or seconds.
It's 60 seconds, bro.
Yeah.
How can you build anything off of that?
That's
you
fact.
can't. You can't. Like how can you? And so, we would have never been able to build PolyDoge the way that we did in 2021, right? That never would have happened without everyone in the community pulling together and actually having a very active community, building that brand and building the presence, and everyone working together. Now, not everybody, I'm not naive, right? Not everybody was working together. When we got to 120 mil, I mean, you had some of the people you thought that were like the biggest champions of the coin that just dumped on us, just horrendously dumped on us. And that was a big wake up call for me because, I'm definitely the eternal optimist, you could say. And so, yeah,
It
I
broke your
mean,
worldview at that point of something, right?
yeah,
Like you were like,
yeah,
okay, like I could
yeah. I
feel it.
mean, I
Yeah.
really felt that everybody that we were working with, we all had that integrity. We all, like made that agreement together. Hey, once we get to certain points, we're only taking out a certain amount because we want to get to higher valuations. And nah, that did not happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure learning that, like, that experience probably taught you so much about how you've then continued to build in the space from that, right? Like the
Mhm.
like kind of trust but verify kind of aspect of blockchain. I'm sure that's like even more appealing to you, kind of after seeing all that. I'm curious, like, what you think of, like, okay, you said you can't build like you guys did build in that environment in 2021. Now, I'm curious what your thoughts are of like how a project can be successful in this like time, you know.
So this is something that we've actually been thinking about a ton right now at Ryft, and especially with how everything is moving agentic. Basically, if you have a Claude, coding subscription, like the $200 subscription, you basically build most anything that you would want. Now, so when it comes to what are the moats that are out there now, like where, so once anyone can create anything, once there's a point where software is not as valuable, where do you go next? And where you go next is, community curation, right? Also, another thing is you're looking at the way that you tell your story, the way that your brand is built, like those things that are not hard. I mean, that are extremely hard to copy because it's so embedded within, the culture that you curate and develop, right? And then the other thing, so this is one thing that we've seen and we think is really exciting, is that with agents, right? Agents are going to dominate trading. They're going to dominate, pretty much every interaction. You'll have a human behind the agent that is doing all kinds of different interactions and trading and, every type of thing that they could, possibly do on chain, right, or off chain. And so with agents, they don't have the same emotions as we do, right? We can actually direct them and guide them into better outcomes of what we want to see for the future, right? Whatever we optimize for those agents to do, they will compound on it to infinity. And so for us at Ryft, what's very important is that we build products and systems that are ready for this agentic era and that can compound the right things, right? Make more positive sum games. And so that's really what we've been focused on, and focused on, okay, so if we can help change these behaviors, right, and create the right incentive and reward structures called mechanism design, um, then we can actually lead to a much better environment in our industry using agents. And so that's the big opportunity that we have right now. We're not like stuck in this box where now we're just going to PvP each other to death. And I'm telling you, if you incentivize your agents to just do that, that's what's going to end up happening, right, in the market. They're just going to PvP each other to death, PvP all these different, think about the 60-second hold. It'll be even less than that, right? Because of the amount that they'll be moving across. But
The speed at which you can make a transaction.
yeah, the speed at which you can make a transaction, the speed at which you can
Matches.
extract, the speed at which you can, collude around many different agents, across something.
Yeah.
And so that that we want to build a completely different model away from that, right? And so kind of like our, I guess some people call it our top secret, or our, it's like our next big build, our flagship build, the build that we've been building behind the scenes and getting ready to release. That's what a lot of those different mechanics are about. It's about, making sure the agents have special parameters. They're incentivized and rewarded to do positive sum outcomes. Anyone can engage with it. Anyone can participate. And then because you're participating, you actually get rewarded for doing so. And it actually kind of, it's kind of breaking these boundaries or barriers away from these areas in DeFi that most people are not aware already that exist or even have access to. Usually most of your big players, they know all this stuff and they know what's happening behind the scenes when it comes to the movement of liquidity, arbitrage, different things like that. And so we're going to be democratizing a lot of those different systems.
I love that. I think that's so important. The positive sum outcomes part of that. I think one of my favorite things about this community and what got me so excited was I was blessed when I was in Portland, Oregon, actually, in 2022 to meet some awesome people focused on a DAO out there, but very much the just regenerative community, as opposed to the degen community. And that regen community got me really excited about what was possible with the tech, and solely the tech and not like the hype cycle part of crypto. And I think a lot of people get excited about the hype cycle, but I was blessed, and a lot of regens, like now regens, like got into it for some reason or another because of a hype cycle in one way or another. And some people like continued to chase those, and then some people like pop into like, okay, like I found my way to make the world better. Like you said, positive sum interaction. So that's super exciting to hear that you're working on how we in an agentic world are going to start becoming more of this PvE type mentality where it's player versus the environment of like making the world a better place, as opposed to the past, hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
That's always been PvP, right? There is a way. One of the things I've seen from like the Web3 space, and I'm curious like your take on this part of it, because this is my favorite, is the fact that if my country, whatever it is, starts to go to war with another country, but we have teammates over there and consumers and builders, right, in all of these different places, I'm way more incentivized for us to all think cooperatively, right? And I think language barriers are being broken, as well as international money barriers being broken, and all of these kind of combining with the internet and an agentic internet. I think there's a crazy, powerful opportunity to do something that's never been able to be possible at any time in history because of many gaps being brought down in like you said, democratizing everyone's opportunity. So I would love to know like where you see that international like community making that much of a difference.
Well, so this kind of goes back to some of my previous background. So I don't even know if I've talked about this recently, but so in 2013, I was kind of like quote unquote on my deathbed, right? So like I have a major chronic illness from my service in the Marine Corps, and so I'm a 100% disabled veteran. You wouldn't be able to tell, right? Because I hide it so well. Like I am in pain 24/7. It is tough, right? It's tough, but I get to make a choice each day whether I be a victim to the circumstances or be empowered by it. And in 2013, one of my favorite franchises is Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy ever since I was a kid. And Final Fantasy: A Realm Reborn, which was the MMORPG. So they redid this MMORPG, right? I played it in like, I think it was in 2010 that I played it a little bit. So I kind of knew how the game worked before they did like the redo. And So here I am in just excruciating pain. I'm like, I need something to take my mind off this pain. And so I end up playing this game, and I get to be like one of the very first people in the world at 3 a.m. in the morning on this server, right? And I think to myself, I go, okay, what am I going to do? Like, how can I establish myself, in this virtual world? And so I decide, okay, I'm going to be the server first top level miner, because I knew from the previous game that if you were able to like get resources, you could really kind of work your way, like being able to craft different things and all that, right? And so I start just mining virtually with this pickaxe all day. It's like 13, 14, 15 hours a day. I'm just doing this, right? And people, and there's a lot of people playing this game. There's hundreds of thousands of people around the world that are playing this game, and I'm just going around just hitting all these different mining nodes, and so I'm working on it. I'm working on getting up there, and eventually I get to the point where I'm the highest level, right, of miner, and all the crafters, they're trying to come up at the same time as the server is. They're trying to get to higher gear, best in slot gear for that particular level to go do the bigger raids. They have to come to me for the resources because I'm the only one that can go mine that stuff, right? And so I start, giving them all this stuff, give it, and then eventually I get to this point, and it's maybe like within a week and a half, I get to this point where like literally I'm the only one that I actually can control the prices of all of these different assets. And so I have like spreadsheets, right? I have spreadsheets of the different items that I'm the only one in the entire, this whole server can actually get this item. And so I start negotiating with with the crafters, right? So I'm negotiating with the crafters. So it's almost like I'm creating my own, like,
flea market.
Market guild, trade guild kind of thing, right? And what ends up happening, which is really just wild, is that because I end up getting server first level 50 miner, and because I'm controlling so much of these resources that these crafters need, I end up being the most wealthy player on the entire server, right? So like I have more, I could literally buy anything in the game that I'd ever want, right? And then some. And so what I decide to do is, since I have these relationships with all these different crafters and artisans and other people that are in these different skills, I create a guild. And we call it the Order of Dew. Why do we call it the Order of Dew? Well, we call it the Order of Dew because there was this guy that was trying to beat me to level 50 miner, and we thought he was a bot because it was like 24/7. He was just going, and he barely would talk to us. And we found out it was like 2 people that were, on that account going back and forth. I still beat him though. I still beat him to level 50 server, which is crazy, right? And so we call it the Order of Dew. That guy actually ends up joining the 2 people on that account. They actually join us. But what we did with this trade guild is very fascinating for, I guess you could say, like social experiment, because there's this law that's called the law of consecration. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. Do you want to explain it?
So it's a social order and construct where everybody contributes. It's not communism. It's not communism. It's where everyone has a high level of skill within certain things. They all contribute to the whole, and then they all are able to benefit from each other. Like you don't necessarily,
the 1 + 1 = 3 kind of mentality.
Yes, very very positive sum type of social structure. And so when I did that with this guild, I implemented the law of consecration among this group. There's about 500 of us around the world. We end up being the most powerful guild in the entire game.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And so I kind of go back. I think about that social experiment, and I think, okay, what would that look like on a higher scale? Like, what could we do on a higher scale? And the thing is, to get to that level, you actually have to do behavioral models, because it has to be completely voluntary as well. Completely voluntary.
Yeah.
It's not coerced. It's not forced. Everyone has to volunteer to be a part of that type of system. With agents, we can kind of move them in different layers across that stack
Yeah.
and teach them through different incentive structures on how to do something like that. I'm not saying that Ryft is going to do the law of consecration for the markets. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I am saying is that we're kind of going a step below that, but it also would completely transform the way that the markets work right now, and kind of create different opportunities where you're not having this mass extraction. You have a lot more options at your disposal, right? So like one big option, right? One big option, and maybe this is some alpha for anyone that's watching. One big option is OTC, right? Being able to trade peer to peer, any type of token. It's not necessarily if you OTC, it's when you OTC. When you look at traditional markets, 80% of traditional markets trade OTC.
Yeah.
Right now. Why?
Totally.
Because of the options for that secondary liquidity, and also being able to make it so that you're not, hurting the chart, right? And this is something that the vast majority of this space, we have AMMs, we have all these other, types of liquidity structures. We have some people, getting innovative with other types of liquidity structures, within LPs and, single side stake and, all these things. But there are major benefits on having different tooling and being able to do that peer-to-peer liquidity exchange. And so that's just one mechanism that makes these types of systems that I'm talking about work, because then you can do it where it's no slippage, no price impact. It can be completely private even, right? So, no one knows that you actually were the one that traded that asset. And so you have this dynamic flow across, different, different assets in the space. Right now, the way that it looks is that most of OTC, you have to have, maybe $50,000 a trade, like on a major OTC desk. There's not very many options for the regular, person that is actually probably going to get hurt more than someone that already has a lot of liquidity and all the other, has access to all these other options, right? So that's just one piece of the puzzle that we're thinking about when it comes to how do you create more positive sum games within the market. And that's another thing. Like, so with Ryft over the last 2 years, we built products. We have our Drift, platform where you can create hybrid NFTs off of any token on Base, ETH, BSC, Polygon. The thing is that for those types of markets or those types of tools to have the right amount in demand, so that they're even more valuable tools. They're valuable tools, valuable for utility, valuable for conviction and commitment on chain. But to make it so that the velocity of the liquidity can actually move and be dynamic, that's what we're building now. We're actually building the foundation that makes it so that all the other products that we've developed so far make sense, because you all have the demand, you have the liquidity, you have a ton of willing participants. And so that was the big breakthrough over the last like 6 weeks that we really had to come to. We had to come to grips with at Ryft was like, okay, these products are great. They have good utility, but for it to really be that powerful flywheel, you have to have the counterparty, right?
100%.
And that counterparty really is kind of non-existent for these types of products right now, especially with NFTs. I mean, think about it. You got Magic Eden that just
Yeah.
shut down everything, right, with NFTs. And so with our next big iteration of what we're doing, I mean, NFTs will definitely be on the map again, but they're going to be used in a utility way that is just makes so much more sense. And we can build off of that core and just fully expand it. And then all the products we built before, they make all the sense in the world. And it's not like, oh, I'm just waiting for, waiting for some type of liquidity. The demand's going to absolutely already be there.
Totally. No, I love that. I think it's when you don't have the market conditions for your products, you're going to make them, right? And I think that's such a powerful statement. It's like, we know these are powerful. We're going to create that demand that is going to be there for what we've created. So I love that. I think it's super beautiful. I'm really excited, to try it out and then really play around with it, because I know there's a lot of people in our on-chain music community that have been really in that space of like wanting to bring a positive sum energy from NFTs and bring NFTs back in that capacity as well. So I think there's gonna be a lot of people really excited. I'm excited to make some more drifts and get involved more as you kind of come into this next phase of what you guys are building. Where can people get to find you on the different places where you most active?
I mean, we're most active in the Telegram and or on X. We're starting to get a little bit more active on our Discord right now. We're really ramping up for the big reveal, right? So we're putting all of those different pieces together for what is coming with this. I guess what we're calling internally the flagship product, right? The flagship product that kind of just drives everything forward. Because now when you make drifts in the future with this product that we're about to release, you will have demand already there. You're not going to have to go and find a bunch of different people like, hey, go and get this or get that. The demand is already going to be there from the incentives, the reward structures, the ways that the agents are working within our system. Everyone, the agents that people are bringing to our system, and we will keep leaking more and more information as we get closer and closer to the testing, because we're going to do a full-on testing, right? So there'll be private testing, there'll be public testing, several different testing tranches that you'll be able to test with your agents and see how it all works, and then position yourself and get yourself ready for when we open the main floodgates. And I wish I could say what I have in my mind, but I'll just say this. The way we're positioning this product, it will already have an existing funnel at the start. So we're already beachheading into areas of the market that already have flow that we can directly tap into, which is unique. It's rare that you can find an opportunity where you can actually tap into something existing, build the first frameworks and testing from that, and then build on top of that, right?
I love that. I think that's such a inspiring thing to be trying to aspire towards. I think it's really like I'm excited. We'll definitely be around for our for as much as we can and sharing that out. I think everyone getting their own agent is a big thing. That, as well as just getting more into vibe coding and being more comfortable with that, is a big thing I've been pushing. And I think for all of the non-technical folks out there, the first thing you can do is try, and like Jordan said here, get ready, because the Ryft is coming, and you better watch out. So thank you so much for coming on, Jordan. I appreciate you spending your time here. I'm super excited for what's to come. We'll definitely have to get you back on as we dive into more of the product and as it comes out.
Yeah, thank you, bro. I would love to be on, and we can actually demo this new product once we make it public, right?
Amazing.
Once we're making it public, I mean, during the public testing phase, right? We could go through it and be like, this is the reason we chose this. This is what this is. This is what this is. It's extensive build.
Perfect.
This is nothing like our MVP. I'll just say that. The MVP it's like 1/100th of what this is.
Awesome.
And that's why it's taking it takes time to build something that's this robust, this interconnected, so many different pieces. Really making it simple too, right? Like it's complex on the back end, but
customizable
on the front end, I mean, very, very simple. Like we're using Banker, shout out Banker. We're using Banker terminal, through different ways that we're managing some of the UI. I mean, we've probably got at least 15 different types of existing infra that's already being integrated into the whole stack. So I mean, that's
awesome.
It's sweet. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we will definitely get you on for a demo as we get closer to that public phase, and I'm excited to see what you guys got coming down the pipeline. Feel free to always reach out. I'm always available to share stuff, and it was a blast chatting today. So thank you again for coming on. Thank you for anyone who's watching this or jumped in the live. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Peace.
Take care.